In this session, Smart presents you the topic Number Properties Part 1. So the application of numbers in our day-to-day life is numerous, and also all the quantitative ability topics involve numbers for calculation. In this section, we are going to know certain fundamental properties and operations using number system so that we can excel in the calculations regarding the quantitative ability topics.
Let us know certain basic definitions regarding the number system here. The first one is a digit. All the 10 known symbols, that is from 0, 1, 2, etc. up to 9 are called digits here. The second one is numeral. A group of figures that represent a number is called a numeral. For example, 465. The third one is the place value and face value. To understand this, let us take two numbers, 465 and 540. First, we know what is a face value. Face value is the digit, the value of the digit itself. For example, if I take a number 4, the face value of 4 in 465 is 4, and the face value of 4 in 540 is also 4. But the place value, the digit will be multiplied by the place. To know the face value, I need not consider whether it appears in the unit digit, tens place or in the hundred place. But while I calculate the place value, I should consider in which place it is occurring. For example, the place value of 4 in 465 will be 4 into 100 as it occurs in the hundreds place, so it will be 400. And the place value of 4 in 540 will be 4 into 10 as it occurs in the tens place, so it will be 40.
Let us know the classification of numbers in this section. First, it is natural numbers. All the counting numbers are called as natural numbers. That is from 1, 2, etc. up to infinity. And we represent them as n.
The second one is whole numbers. This will include all the counting numbers and 0. So, if I represent the whole number as w, I can write it as 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. up to infinity. And the third one is integers. Here, it will be the counting numbers plus 0 plus the negative of counting numbers. So if I represent integers as I here, I can write it as -1, 0, 1, etc. and this side it extends. So it will include all the negative numbers as well as the positive numbers. The fourth classification is rational numbers. If I can represent a number in the form P by Q, where Q is not equal to 0, then I can call these numbers as rational numbers, and we generally represent them as Q. The fifth classification is irrational numbers. Non-repeating and non-terminating decimal forms of numbers are called as irrational numbers. You can understand this using an example. For example, I take pi. It is 22 by 7 or 3.14. It is not exactly 3.14. It goes after it. It continues after this. It is non-terminating decimal form. And again, root 3 is also an example of irrational number. The sixth classification is real numbers. We represent them by R. And the real numbers will consider both the rational numbers and irrational numbers. For example, 1 by 2, root 3, 5 by 4, etc. Let us go into the seventh classification. The next classification is even numbers. All the natural numbers which are divisible by 2 are called as even numbers. The general form for even numbers is 2n. It is a multiple of 2. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, all these numbers are called even numbers. Next classification is odd numbers. So all the natural numbers which are not divisible by 2 are called as odd numbers. And we generally represent them as 2n minus 1 and 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. All these numbers are called odd numbers. Prime numbers, all the natural numbers which are divisible by 1 and the number itself are called prime numbers. Or I can tell they have only 2 factors. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, all these numbers are called prime numbers. And note, 2 is the only even prime numbers. All the other numbers which are not prime are called as composite numbers.
Let us discuss the basic arithmetic operations here. The 4 basic operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And again we will discuss the laws pertaining to these 4 fundamental operations.
The first law is A plus B is equal to B plus A. If I add two numbers A plus B, it will be equal to that of B plus A. This is called commutative law of addition. Commutative law for addition. And again similarly, A into B will be equal to B into A, and again this is called commutative law of multiplication. The third one is A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. And this law is called associative law of addition. And the fourth law is A into B into C will be equal to A into B into C. And this law is called associative law of product or associative law of multiplication. And again, A into B plus C will be equal to A into B plus C. And this law is called the distributive law. So I recall there are 4 laws. One is the commutative law of addition, commutative law of multiplication, associative law of addition, associative law of multiplication, and the distributive law. Let us recall the points whatever we have discussed in this particular session. First one, the number 0 is neither positive nor negative. Second one, multiplication of two numbers will always yield the following pattern. That is, if I multiply two odd numbers, my result is always an odd number. Second, if I multiply an odd number and an even number, the result is always even number. And I multiply two even numbers, my result is again an even number. Third point, all the integers can also be called as rational numbers. And fourth point, all the natural numbers can also be called as rational numbers. Fifth point is, when I take a rational number and an irrational number, if I find the sum, it is always an irrational number. This, a rational number plus an irrational number will always yield me an irrational number. For example, I take 1 by 2 plus 22 by 7. My answer will be 3.641 and it goes on. It's non-terminating decimal. Sixth one, if I take a rational number and an irrational number and find the product, again it is going to be an irrational number. That is, a rational number multiplied by an irrational number will always yield an irrational number. Let's take the same example here. 1 by 2 into 22 by 7. Cancel it out. 11 times. So it is 11 by 7. So I get 1.5, etc.
I hope you have understood the basic definitions of number system, the types of numbers, and the basic operations using the number systems. Have a great learning.